Murat Aslan, a security analyst and associate professor of security studies at the Hasan Kalyoncu University. He joins us now from Gaziantep, right near the Turkey-Syria border as well. Thanks so much for speaking to us, Murat. I mean, the issue now, from what I'm understanding, is actually some competing narratives between Turkey and Russia. Turkey had said originally that it had told regime and Russian forces the location of its troops and that the regime went ahead and attacked anyway. Russia is now saying the whereabouts of the Turkish troops that were hit were unknown, that Turkey never did any reporting back to Russia or the regime. Is that possible?
Andrea, as you know, there's a coordination mechanism here in Ankara. And this coordination mechanism has been set up by a Russian delegation and also Turkish officers. And they simultaneously pass information to each other just to inform what the units on the ground are doing. But I think we should go further. Such kind of an attack to a Turkish observation post is beyond the agreements between Turkey, Iran, and Russia, as you know. Which means if Idlib is a de-escalation zone, then there must be no attack to Idlib, and furthermore, no attack to Turkish observation posts. Unfortunately, for the last 2 years, we see a kind of tendency by the regime forces, which are backed by Russia and Iran, to violate the agreed terms of these, processes, either Astana or Sochi.
And I guess, Murat, what all that proves is that the regime, even though its primary backer, Russia, has signed on to this agreement, and as Iran, the regime doesn't necessarily have to care. And they continue to take territory from rebels. And now Idlib they see as, the last stop. So where does this end?
As you know, Russia guarantees that Assad regime will assume responsibility to implement these agreements. And they did for a while, but later than that, they had an additional argument that there are terrorists on the ground and they have to counter them. Well, if there are terrorists, it may be, but let's go to the consequences of their arguments. Last year, only in 2019, there are 3,364 civilian deaths, and 748 civilians are kids, not adults. And on the other hand, 842 of them are women. That means if you are countering terrorism, the death toll must be composed of terrorist bodies, not civilians. So there is a kind of contradiction between the arguments and also what is found on the ground in terms of civilian casualties.
Right. I mean, it almost renders the entire Astana process farcical at this point. So, I mean, what happens now? Need there be another high-level meeting and another process to agree a ceasefire of sorts that is taken seriously, that, I don't know, perhaps the negotiation should directly involve the regime, because they are the ones that, more than anything, are in violation of every agreement that has been reached between Turkey, Russia, and Iran?
What Russia will do is actually very simple. They will try to first mediate between Turkey and regime, but I think it's a kind of misleading path, because what Russia desired up until now is to have Turkey recognize Assad regime as a legitimate player on the ground. And this is nonsense for Turkish politicians, as you know. So what should be done? First, Turkey must increase the level of measures in Idlib, counter the regime's attacks targeting the Turkish observation post along with Idlib, and also negotiate with Russians to stop regime to start any type of attack. Because if it's a de-escalation zone, then any kind of alternative will stop political process, which is still ongoing in Genoa.
Okay, Murat Aslan joining us there from Gaziantep. Thanks so much.